여러분, welcome back to 한국어천재. It is now time for part 3 where we are joined by Matthew for 맛대맛, where we talk about food in Korea, where foods come from, where food is in our bellies and how we're craving it tonight. How are you today, Matthew?
I am tired. How are you?
You don't show it in your voice, though. I got to give you that.
Well, that's because that's what I do for a living. I can't let the tiredness come through my voice. But I am tired because, well, we are TBS after all. Let's talk about the traffic and give you a little traffic update today.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's very bad.
How long did it take you to get to Sangam-dong TBS today?
From Samsung-dong, it took me 2 hours and 45 minutes to get
By the
here.
way, for any listeners, Samsung-dong is part of Seoul, as is Sangam-dong. And I think it's, maybe 15 kilometers away?
Yeah, it is kind of end-to-end, not like the furthest end to the furthest end, but it is coming kind of south to kind of north, southeast-ish of the city to kind of northwest-ish of the city. It is not a close distance, but that was a long time to spend on the road.
That must have been a very painful experience.
I actually screamed a couple of times.
Oh!
Yeah, just did like twice, just to let it out. I can't stretch my legs, so I'll stretch my voice instead.
Yeah, well, you've stretched your lungs out, and you've got a crispy, nice, delicious voice going for us right now. So, what is today's crispy and delicious food item going to be?
We're talking about garlic today, and when garlic gets crispy, it is rather delicious.
Absolutely.
But
Wow.
not everyone likes garlic, or not even everyone can have garlic, because today's question is, traditionally, which country's royal family is forbidden to eat garlic?
Wait, what? If you're royalty, shouldn't you get extra garlic? You get no garlic?
I'll fill you in a little bit more about the details as we go on, but for now, I'll leave you with that. I mean, there aren't that many royal families, but I might not even be talking about a contemporary royal family. I could be talking about the King of Hawaii.
오, 그럼 여러분 한 번 다시 물어보자면 전통적으로 어떠한 나라의 왕족들은 마늘을 먹는 것이 금지되어 있다고 합니다. 이 왕족은 어느 나라의 왕족일까요? If you know the answer, 샵 1013으로 문자 보내주십시오. That is a tough question.
Can't have everything, right?
Man, that's okay, interesting. So, on the topic of garlic, let's learn about garlic. I know it's a bulb, and that's all I know.
Well, actually, that's a pretty good observation because garlic is kind of related to lilies. And we'll find out a little bit more, but actually, you can't grow modern-day garlic from seed. You have to grow it from a bulb.
Huh, okay.
And it's part of the allium family. So this family has all the delicious foods. Onions, shallots, leeks, chives, Welsh onion, scallions, ramps, 부추, 파, 대파, 쪽파, 실파, 명이나물, 산마늘, 달래. These are all part of the allium family.
So, I guess kind of like aromatic. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
for
actually,
it?
that's something that's a term that they use in both like a culinary term. So like aromatics are referred to things like onions, garlic, ginger is part of the aromatic family. I know in like a lot of Commonwealth countries, they'll just shorten that to aromats a lot of the time. So
Aromats.
Brits will call it aromats and all of them. If you're allergic to one, you're allergic to all of them.
So people have allergies to garlic.
It's very tragic.
How do you eat food with flavor?
Yeah, so it's what's I think it's called a FODMAP. It's a type.
The FODMAP diet thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Fear of digesting meals that are actually palatable. FODMAP. I just pulled that out. I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty good. Wow. And the word garlic itself, it comes from Old English. Garlach, meaning gar, spear, and leek, so it's a spear-shaped leek. So the leek, which we don't really eat that much of in Korea, came before the garlic.
What's a leek in Korean, actually?
Leek.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it's
so,
not 대파.
Right, so 대파 is different. So 대pa is more of an onion, whereas a leek is its own thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so leeks are, I think, pretty native to Europe, and you don't really find it outside of Europe. You don't even see it that much used in the Americas as often as you see it used in Europe.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, Europe is definitely leek central. And if you're looking for them in Korea, you're looking for leek.
리크. Okay. 리크
Whereas-
드셔본 적 있어요? 이건 전 모르는데요.
I don't know. It's very unusual. I know I've seen it at like the 백화점 and whatnot, but I think it's always like in the 특수야채 area, in like the specialty vegetable section, and they're expensive. They're about like probably 5,000원 to 8,000원 per leek.
For one like stalk thing, one 대파
Because
equivalent.
they're just not that common.
That's wild.
And so the places that are selling them, they're selling it as a kind of like an unusual luxury international item.
So it's when you're flexing to your guests at home. 여기는 스테이크랑 리크 있습니다.
대파, no, 이건 리크.
예, 대파 아니라 이건 리크. 좋습니다.
So garlic is one of the oldest known horticultural crops. It's one of the crops that we've been cultivating for the longest. Egyptian and Indian cultures referred to garlic about 5,000 years ago. The Babylonians 4,500 years ago. The Chinese about 2,000 to 4,000 years ago. So there have been uses of garlic for a long time. It's been used as food for a long time. But we're not even sure where modern garlic is from.
Okay, so garlic may have came from something that wasn't what we know as garlic today.
It's more like there are so many different types of wild garlic. We're not sure what the original one is. So
okay.
wild garlic kind of grows all over the world. With a lot of foods, we can kind of point to where they originated from. For example, Kazakhstan is very proud of two things. That they are proud of the site of the first space launch. So the Soviet space launch was done in Kazakhstan.
That's impressive, yes.
And apples.
Apples.
So apples are native to Central Asia, and more specifically Kazakhstan.
I would have never assumed that.
Me neither. I only knew after I visited. Every time I met somebody, they asked me, that would be the first thing they asked is, did you know that Kazakhstan is home of space launches and apples? And the second thing they would ask me is, did you know that there is a dish called Korean salad in Kazakhstan?
Well, that is also interesting.
It's
What?
it's like a very beloved dish. It's a very, very common dish. It's very similar to namur, right? But it's made out of carrot. So it's carrot that's been like shredded and slightly sautéed.
Is this okay? I think I actually might know the origin of this. So the original Chosunjo, I think, is that the right term? No, it's not. The Koreans that immigrated to Central Asia are known as, I can't remember the term, but yeah, because cabbage isn't so available in the region, they used carrots instead to make kimchi.
There you go. Yeah, there's a sizable Korean population in Kazakhstan, and it is a dish that is so beloved that it is found quite frequently.
Oh wow!
I would say it's just off the top of my head is probably as common as we find, say, French fries here in Korea.
That common. So
that
even
common.
amongst non-ethnically Korean communities?
I don't want to speak for all of Kazakhstan, but from
okay.
what I remember in terms of how people were like telling me about it and how often I saw it, probably a top 5, top 10 salad.
I also remember the word goryein is the term I was looking for
there you
for
go.
our Korean, ethnically Korean in Central Asia. Okay, that is fascinating. So garlic and, well, apples is from Kazakhstan.
But we're not sure where modern garlic is from. So generally, people think that modern garlic is from Southwestern Asia. Other people might think it's from the Middle East. But one thing we do know is that I mentioned earlier that modern garlic has to be planted from a bulb. So garlic can grow a stalk and it can grow flowers. It can have seeds, but those seeds don't grow anything. They're sterile. Modern garlic
seeds.
needs humans. So garlic has to be cultivated. It's like a symbiotic relationship. We can't live without garlic, and garlic can't live without us. It's almost poetic, right?
That is amazing. That's a love story. That's
There
like
you go.
Romeo and Juliet, or what? There must be a better example. But yes, okay.
Yeah, and it's easily grown. It can be grown year-round in mild climates, so it's one of the reasons why you see it used almost everywhere. They can be grown closely together. They're pretty hardy. They're pretty disease-resistant, and a lot of pests don't eat them. So things like rodents, like rabbits, don't tend to eat garlic as well. So
That's great. No wonder it's so affordable, because garlic, you can get it in pretty large quantities for decent prices, right?
That's true. I don't really know of a place where garlic is very expensive, where garlic is considered a luxury.
Yeah. Even in, like, as an Australian coming to Korea, fruit and vegetables can often be very expensive in comparison. But you look at garlic and maybe onions as well, and it's kind of like, oh well, at least you're still within a affordable budget range.
That is true. I mean, not a lot is cheap in Australia, but produce comparatively to Korea, produce is very plentiful in Australia.
Absolutely.
Wine as well. You know,
Wine
well, I
as
guess
well.
wine being being an agricultural product. But yeah, produce in Australia very bountiful, and Korean prices. I remember I came back from my honeymoon in Europe, and we came back, and on our way back from the airport from Seoul, we stopped by the grocery store, and I still remember how much I could buy for 2만 원. Made me so made me so sad. Like, so for like, at 15 euro, we went to like the market and we got, tomatoes and peppers and I think we got rabbit even.
Rabbit?
And we basically got enough food to eat for like, 4 or 5 days. Whereas we went to a shukpal here. I got a chicken, 1 carrot.
1 carrot?
And like 1 small thing of mushrooms. And that's all like 2만 원 would buy me.
Yeah, like, Korea is amazing when it comes to services because we're so condensed as a country. So medical is cheap, all like banking is convenient. But yeah, the lack of land really makes produce a very expensive purchase.
That's right. But you are correct in the sense that garlic is very affordable in Korea.
Thank you, garlic.
To the point where we eat more garlic than just about anywhere else. In 2019, we ate 7.14 kilograms of garlic per capita.
7.14 kilograms. That's about like 600 grams a month, which is 20 grams a day of garlic.
Yeah, that sounds about right?
20 grams of garlic a day?
I mean, think about it, right? Like, garlic goes into just about everything we eat here, right? Other than like membap, other than just plain rice.
Yeah.
Garlic goes into almost everything, including sweets. We'll go into that a little bit later. But garlic goes into so much of what we eat. And compare that to another country that's famous for its garlic, Italy.
Italy. Garlic breath is like associated with Italian food a lot of the time, right?
1 kilogram per capita. We eat 7 times as much garlic as they do in Italy.
7 times more. 이탈리아보다 7배 더 많이 마늘을 먹는 건데.
It's true, and if it makes sense. Like I don't want to say that like Italy is falling behind in terms of garlic, but they definitely don't put as much garlic in everything like we do.
I guess it could be certain dishes, maybe?
Other than pop, you could very
risotto.
commonly go an entire day where everything you eat has garlic in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially like if you have kimchi every meal, that defaults. You already have garlic for every meal.
Yeah, kimchi default. A lot of guk.
Just about
soup.
Yeah, just about except for like the very like 맑은 like guk, right? So like things like 갈비탕. They don't, you don't put garlic in that. Some families do, but generally, traditionally you don't. Like in things like, but in things like kimchi-jjigae, 된장찌개, like, all of the common soups and stews all have garlic in it.
Like our common meat dishes like 제육, 불고기.
Unless if it's like 생고기, right? Like, like meat that is not marinated in anything. If it's marinated in anything, it generally will have garlic in that marinade.
As a connoisseur of food, as a gourmand yourself, right? Do you consider gogi to be a dish? Like, do you consider it to be Korean food, gogi, meat?
Yeah, I wouldn't say why not. Yeah.
No? Oh, yeah, it can be.
Yeah. I wouldn't say why not. Like, because I think that you can take a common ingredient and the way you cook it, the way you serve it, all that becomes unique to a certain culture, right? And of course, Korea doesn't have the exclusive license on grilling meat, but in terms of grilling it at the table.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, at the table.
Yeah, like even at home, right? Like you a lot. You have like the brusta, whatnot, like where you can still grill it in a pan.
Brusta.
Yeah, the little butane burners.
Butan, baby, butan.
Yeah. And it's just not as something that's nearly as common in other countries as it is Korea. It's countries where they have like a hot pot culture that will have those burners pretty common. But in a lot of the Western world, those, unless if you're a camper, You generally don't have one of those at home.
That's true. I recently purchased one so I could start cooking videos, and I was just shocked that there's so much variety. And I was wondering, is this a camping thing or is this really the home version?
It is a home. Yeah, there's so many, and they're very affordable. They're very common. If you go to like a larger if you go to like a larger 편의점, you can just buy one from a convenience store.
편의점?
Yeah, the larger ones, especially in touristy areas.
Oh, okay.
You go out to go out to Yangyang, for example, right? They'll sell butane burners so you can cook on the beach. Right, I gotta
say they are so good though. Because they're so warm. They heat up your pans and your pots instantly. It's just delicious. Absolutely.
If you have an older apartment, there's a good chance a Brusta is stronger than your actual home stove.
Right? I've got a not too old place, like relatively new, but I don't want that induction. It's rubbish. Give me that butan, baby. Okay, so we're talking about garlic and how Koreans eat on average 7 kilos a year per capita.
Yeah, we eat so much garlic here that Korea is one of the few countries where pre-chopped garlic, like 그런 다진 마늘 있잖아요. 그 마트에서 직접 다지 않아도 you can buy pre-chopped garlic here in Korea.
Oh yeah.
And that's something that's seen as a culinary sin in a lot of countries.
Yeah, some places you buy it tastes like dumbed down garlic.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's either processed, or it's pasteurized, so it's heat treated, or they add like chemical preservatives because they don't think you can eat it fast enough. Because chopped garlic goes stale very quickly. It goes bad it doesn't go bad, but it loses its flavor very quickly. But they can sell it here in Korea, fresh chopped garlic, because they know you're going to use that thing in 1 or 2 days.
That is wild. So is most of the garlic in Korea from Korea or is it from overseas?
I don't know actually. That's a good question. If you know, please text us the answer because I didn't even think to look that up. But if you know, please chime in because I'd be curious to learn that as well.
Yeah, and if there is a difference, like 가격 차이도 알려주세요. Like 국산이랑 해외산 그런 거. Okay, interesting.
But again, we're talking about garlic today. So once again, here is today's question. Traditionally, which country's royal family is forbidden to eat garlic?
Should I take a guess as well? While our listeners are listening and trying to guess themselves. Okay. It must be a country where garlic isn't that good, or maybe it's the opposite, where a country where garlic is so good.
The more you think about it, the more confused you get, right?
I'm tempted to just throw out Korea and assume that Korean kings couldn't eat garlic.
That's not a bad guess. I will tell you this, that this restriction doesn't really have to do with the kind of normal preconceptions of why you can't eat garlic. And we'll go into this a little bit later, why a lot of cultures don't eat garlic. It has to do with the fact that royal families and royalty, they have to meet so many people all day long. And so it's about not eating like strongly flavored foods in general.
So preventing the smell of...
That's part of it.
That is funny. That is interesting. That is so funny. Okay, that's wild. Okay. Great. Let's hear some more facts about garlic then.
All right. So what's interesting is that eating garlic in the English-speaking world, in terms of how common it is today, this is kind of relatively recent. It's kind of wild how little garlic, say, Americans used to eat just a couple of generations ago. So I in kind of preparing for this episode, I watched this old BBC documentary called The Spice of Life, Garlic's Pungent Presence. It was made in 1983, and they were treating garlic like it was eating insects.
Whoa.
It followed like this one group of foodies. The main story is told through this American dinner party group. And they just seem like genuinely like just like very kind of left of center people. But in the 80s, like these were the people who ate garlic. Like they were they were the kooky ones. They were the ones who were a little bit strange.
So only 40 years ago, eating garlic
only
was
40
considered
years
strange
ago.
in the States.
They were a little club. They called themselves the lovers of the stinking rose.
Oh, wow.
여러분, 솔직히, like when you watch these people, 약간 they seemed kind of like 조금 변태 같았어요. Like they seemed like almost like they loved garlic a little bit too much. But that's how exotic garlic was seen in like the early 80s. the popularity of garlic like we see today didn't really happen until the end of the 80s. Like some sources will pinpoint 1989 as the year that garlic kind of became mainstream in the United States.
1989. Okay. My sister was born in 1989. So.
Mine too.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's a good year for sisters.
There we go.
And, it's like that. It was around that time that things like pizzas and tacos and Chinese food really started to become popular in the U.S. It was also in the late 80s, early 90s when things like food TV and magazines, where like being a gourmet or a foodie just what became a little bit more mainstream. Mm-hmm. Before that, it just seemed a little bit too indulgent. You're from a Commonwealth country. What is it? In the UK as well, say like mid-century, like right after the war, the idea of being a gourmet seemed kind of indulgent, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it was the same way in the United States. And I think as a result, people, were just, in general, less adventurous in terms of eating. And then, garlic was part of that. To the point where, waspy Americans kind of associated garlic with like immigration and poverty.
What's a waspy?
A WASP refers to white Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Okay.
So when you say waspy, like you're talking about like Americans, like the kind of like country club kind of,
extremely white.
The extremely white.
Okay.
Like the pilgrims.
Yeah.
The pilgrims who came over on the Mayflower type of Americans. Joe DiMaggio, who was a superstar baseball player, he was one of Marilyn Monroe's husbands. He was Italian American, and the New York Times, of all places, referred to him as so American he doesn't even smell like garlic.
What the?
Garlic had some crazy, wild associations with it until very, very recently.
Garlic has a nice come-up story.
It really has. Yeah, it's had a glow up.
A glow up, that's the word, right?
But there is one country's royal family which is forbidden to eat garlic.
Okay, so we've spoken about garlic, where it may have come from, how much we eat garlic, and how it's changed so recently. But what is this country? I need to know the answer to this question.
All right. Are you ready? Let's get a drum roll, please.
Can we get a drum roll?
It's the UK.
The UK?
So part of it is that, the royal family is constantly meeting people, so they can't eat, very strongly flavored foods. But it also is, apparently Queen Elizabeth is a very picky eater. No garlic allowed. Very, very sparingly, they can use onions. No crust on bread, ever.
Oh,
and this came to light
God.
a few years ago when Camilla Parker Bowles went on TV and said, like, we none of the royal family, none of us were allowed to eat garlic.
Yo, dude, I'm... I know, like, 우리 PD님이 지금 그냥 양치를 하지. Just brush
That's what
your
I'm
teeth,
saying,
bro.
right? But no, like I said, that you can't have it all.
In hindsight, it sounds so typically English. I'm no longer surprised. But God, get us some taste buds, guys. You colonized half the planet for their spices, and you can't even eat garlic. But okay, look, that's a lot of interesting talk about garlic. I'm looking forward to our next food that we're going to talk about in part 4. But before that, let's listen to a quick song. Summer is Over featuring Sarah Bareilles by John McLaughlin. Something. 여러분, welcome back to 한국어천재. I'm here with Matthew, and we are talking about garlic, one of the most delicious foods on the planet, the best ingredients that apparently the royal family in England cannot eat.
They cannot. I don't know about now, because I know that, like I mentioned before, Queen Elizabeth, she was very picky about it. So I don't know if the new monarch is anti-garlic, is pro-garlic. Maybe someone could tell us.
It's time for a revolution, I believe.
There you go.
It's time for a garlic revolution. Let's get that fragrance going. Okay, so let's keep on talking. Let's talk about garlic more.
So when you talk about, garlic has been around for a very long time. We've said, it's been around for millennia. And when something's been around that long, there are a lot of stories that come up around garlic. So my question for the second half is, where is Transylvania?
Transylvania? 트랜실바니아는 어디일까요?
And the reason why we bring this up is because garlic has been long associated with vampires.
Oh yeah, vampires are scared or allergic or something to garlic.
Yeah, so you can repel vampires with garlic, with a cross, with a shipja.
Yeah. Oh, my blood! I want to drink your blood in my transit. Okay.
But I do not want the garlic. Yeah, like and they can't like cross like running water. There's all these legends that surround vampires, but there is, I guess, like a little kernel of truth to it. There's a reason why, I guess. Like I guess it is one of those myths that kind of organically happened, and we're gonna delve into a little bit of that. Part of it is that while garlic has been eaten for a long time as food, it's been around longer as medicine. 그냥 보약으로 많이 쓰는 거죠. 그 마늘. Like, just about every culture in the world, garlic is very pungent, and it has bacterial properties to it. And as a result, it's very powerful, both in flavor, but it also has like a presence to it, which is why I think a lot of different cultures and a lot of different civilizations all over the world view garlic as a form of medicine.
Yeah, I guess like if you're sick, you have a piece of raw garlic, it'll just go whoom, you can breathe again.
I think we saw like in a previous episode, there's some hangover cure, some like hejang, like it's like vinegar and garlic.
That sounds strangely delicious.
Yeah, and like garlic tea, I think, is used as a cold remedy in some cultures.
That sounds strangely disgusting. But the one I've also noticed in Korea, I never knew it existed, was hungmaner.
Yes, black garlic.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what happens when you age garlic in like a slightly higher than average temperature. It takes a few weeks, I believe, to make hungmaner, and it doesn't taste at all like fresh garlic. It is black. Like it looks just like licorice.
Yes.
And it has a very similar texture. It's 약간 젤리처럼 되는 거죠. Like, and it's kind of like gummy, soft, a little chewy. And it has like almost kind of like a 흑설탕, like a brown sugar kind of flavor to it.
It is quite it's less. Is it less pungent? No, it's a different type of pungent. It's kind of like rounded pungent.
Yeah, but if I had to say yes or no, I would say yes, less pungent.
Okay. Sure.
But yeah, so in Korea we use it as medicine. The Egyptians used it as medicine. And not only do they use it as medicine, they used it as salary as well. They paid pyramid workers in garlic, and it was said to improve strength and stamina. And cloves of garlic were found in King Tut's tomb, in Tutankhamun's tomb.
Wow.
Yeah. And the ancient Greeks as well, they knew about the powers of garlic. The early Olympic athletes, they were said to chew on garlic before meals. The founder of modern medicine, Hippocrates, where we get the Hippocratic Oath from, recommended garlic for pulmonary ailments and and also to aid childbirth.
Childbirth with garlic. That would not go well in a modern childbirthing process.
But they're not the only one. There are other cultures around the world that use garlic in childbirth. What? And cooked garlic was said to treat asthma as well. Wow. And the Indians as well have been using garlic for a long time as medicine. The records go about 5,000 years in Sanskrit showing its medicinal use. It's used in the 3 leading medical or healing traditions, including Ayurveda. It was applied externally to help cuts, bruises, and infections, and was also seen as an aphrodisiac.
Wait, garlic is aphrodisiac?
I would say that if I didn't have any garlic, I'd lose all my passion in life.
Yeah? Passion in life? Okay, passion in bed? I'm
passion
not sure.
For everything. Yeah. Passion, will to live would be gone.
Yeah, food without garlic, honestly, it just doesn't slap.
It'd be like life without color.
Right? Okay, I'm down with that. I hope that there's no smell of garlic in the mouth right before any passion.
Not the worst smell in the world, though. I mean, and
really.
But the thing is that it's so powerful that even in the medieval times, in medieval Europe, so the reason why garlic was seen as a way to keep away vampires was because in medieval Europe they believed that garlic was a cure for blood diseases. And they thought vampirism was a form of blood disease.
Vampirism, they believe, is a blood disease.
So this is something that's kind of come up in the media in the past like 10 years or so. They're tracing back like the legend of vampirism. Like why did this myth happen?
Yeah.
You know, pale blood-sucking monsters. Where did that come from? So historians believe that there's this blood disorder called porphyria, which kind of has symptoms that mirror vampirism.
What?
So your skin turns pale.
Okay, your skin turns pale. Yep.
Your gums shrink back. Your 잇몸, so it looks like you have fangs.
Oh, okay. 그럼 이빨이 더 커 보이고. Yep.
And sunlight, which vampires have to avoid, and garlic can make the symptoms worse.
Make the symptoms worse.
So that's why they thought like, oh, you know, like the people who have this disease, they might be cursed. And oh, sunlight and garlic makes them sick? This keeps them away.
This is wild. Okay. So vampirism may be based on this porphyria, and it has similar symptoms to what we know as a vampire.
But here's the thing. So the reason why a lot of historians believe that this is the origin of vampirism was that one treatment that was kind of prescribed for porphyria was drinking human blood.
Wait, drinking human blood was a cure for this disease?
So it's the idea that porphyria is a disorder that is caused by defective enzyme, where the basically you lack heme. It's the deep red iron-containing compounds that help transport oxygen throughout the body.
Oh, so it's like hemoglobin essentially.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yes.
And so that's why you turn pale when you have porphyria.
So you get porphyria, you turn pale, and in order to treat it, they would feed you human blood.
Other people's blood, because your blood was lacking this enzyme.
And they would feed it to you. So it goes into your stomach and gets digested anyway.
But it wasn't really a cure.
It wasn't a cure at all.
But
no.
all of these things kind of helped create this myth of vampirism.
Hey, yo, you learn everything on 한국어천재. I swear. 여러분, you know how vampires were formed now thanks to a talk about garlic on 한국어천재.
When did you think that you'd learn about vampires when it came to a food show?
I can use this when I talk to women.
There you go. Yeah,
if I ever do.
Yeah, if you show up and you don't have time to yangchi before your date, you're just like, oh, don't worry, I'm keeping the vampires.
Yeah, I got you, girl. I got you.
Protecting you, baby.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, and so today the modern kind of depiction of vampires was kind of comes from mostly Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so in the novel, garlic is heavily featured. What is it? They use garlic flowers in the novel, but modern day depictions use whole bulbs of garlic as a way to deter vampires. And this again is kind of rooted in myth, because this was something that was seen in Southeast Europe, where people would hang garlic to keep away bats.
To keep away bats.
Because bats carry rabies.
Okay, wait. Oh, okay. So now we're getting a link between
So that's where the
bats
and the vampires come together.
So bats were afraid, or they didn't like garlic?
I'm not entirely sure if it worked, because that seems to have its origins in ancient Greece, where it's this idea that that garlic just helps keep evil away.
Okay, so we're getting a whole holy trinity of vampirism. So we have the vampires, and they are supposedly diseased people who like to drink blood. We have bats who we're also trying to keep away with garlic, and then we have, what was the final one? We have
just general evil
spirits.
And so essentially it all comes down to, garlic good. Garlic can defeat all evil. When you kind of combine all this European mythology.
They were onto something. I think garlic can definitely get a lot of things solved in life, especially evil.
In Korea, we've seen garlic be kind of part of very important mythology. Our PD님 was telling us the other day about an Olympic boxer who won gold medal by chewing garlic.
Garlic to keep away your opponent. Make them scared. No, it smells so bad. Okay, but look, we're talking about vampires. So vampire 나온 김에 어울리는 노래 하나 듣고 다시 오겠습니다. 달랄라 by 박명수. 여러분, welcome back to 한국어천재. I'm with Matthew, and we are talking about garlic and how we keep vampires, evil spirits away, and diseased people all at the same time with the power of garlic.
That's right. And that's why today's question is, where is Transylvania?
Okay, based off what we've spoken about so far, it seems like Egypt, like North Africa, and a lot of European things coming out. But I'm gonna go towards Europe because the word Transylvania as well kind of implies something Vania, maybe like Slovenia or something. Slovakia, I don't know.
I grew up in New York, and New York is right next to Pennsylvania, and I was convinced that the two were the same.
Oh,
I thought that there were vampires in the state right next to mine because Pennsylvania sounded so much like Transylvania.
옆주에서는 펜실베니아라고 하는데 트랜실베니아랑 발음하기 비슷해서 바로 옆주에서는 다 뱀파이어 있다고.
But you're right, though, with the name Transylvania and what we've seen so far in terms of the myths that occurred around garlic that happened in Europe, all kind of zeroes in that region of the world. But where in that region? There is one country specifically that is the region where Transylvania is.
I'm gonna guess Austria. For no particular reason whatsoever, it just seems kind of vampire-y.
Yeah, they do kind of have vampires. There's like a lot of kind of stiffness to them. They've got the long cape and the slick back hair. The style fits.
Yeah, and I guess when you look at like vampire movies, they're living on hilly sort of areas. I'm just gonna guess Austria is full of hills, and forgive me, Austrians. Katie's coming in tomorrow. Please don't murder me if I got it wrong. Okay. Yes.
So we talked a little bit about the garlic myths of Korea. We have Olympic boxers who owe their victories to garlic, but the creation myth of Korea.
The creation myth
of Korea is rooted in garlic.
Wait, what?
Are you familiar with the myth of Tangun?
I am not aware of Tangun, no.
So Gaecheonjeol, which is it's coming up. It's October 3rd. Mm-hmm. It's a celebration of it's the foundation day, right? And it's when the first Korean country Gojoseon was established. And so, have you heard the myth of the tiger and the bear?
No.
Oh, you haven't heard this?
Am I a fake Korean right now? Like, well, I'm not Korean, so I have an excuse.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, I was talking to my wife about this, right? And there are like a lot of words I don't know because I wasn't a kid growing up in Korea.
Sure.
Like the words of certain animals, for example, right? Like as an adult, you never talk about this type of animal. Like 앵무새 was one like that. I kind of learned relatively recently because you don't talk about parrots.
Yeah, it's not the most common
as adults, right?
In daily life, I'd say, yes.
But it's pretty common as a cartoon character.
Sure.
Right, and same thing with a lot of kind of like folk tales and myths, because these are not things that come up in daily conversation, but these are things that you'll learn about as an elementary schooler, or in children's books or in fable books. So it's the idea that the Lord in heaven came down to a tiger and bear, and they said that they wanted to be human beings, and they told them that they had to eat maner and suk.
마늘 and 쑥? 갑자기 마늘이랑 쑥?
Yep, garlic and mugwort.
Mugwort. Because I don't think mugwort really relates to most people, English speakers anyway. Like it sounds just like a chemical in an alchemy.
Yeah, right. Like it sounds very Shakespearean.
What is suk / mugwort? Just as a basic, I guess.
Mugwort, I guess it could be most described as a type of herb.
It's
a wild green,
right? Yeah, it's a green thing.
It tastes very grassy. It tastes somewhere between parsley and green tea.
Okay, guys. So it's a green thing. Mugwort is a green thing. It's not like a weird mushroom you put into potions.
No, it's something that like you get in like tteok as like a flavoring. So if you ever see like a deep green rice cake in Korea, that is most likely flavored with suk. And it's also drank as a tea as well.
And it's delicious, right?
It is very delicious.
It doesn't have any like people who dislike it. Well,
it's almost kind of like minty in its kind of like freshness to it. But there's that and garlic.
Okay.
And those were the two things that this tiger and bear had to eat for 100 days while in a cave.
Okay. And it sounds difficult for a tiger at least, yeah.
So the tiger couldn't take it and ran away. But the bear was very patient and went through the entire 100 days, ate the garlic, ate the suk only, and then was transformed into a human, most specifically a human woman, and then Hanung, the deity, came down and married her, and this was the beginning of the Korean Empire.
This is how Korea began.
This is the myth.
Okay. It sounds like grooming in a sense. Like, please.
Whoa,
eat some
that took a dark
garlic
turn.
and-
That took a dark turn, but yeah. And like,
Why is the deity like transforming to marry the mortal who ate garlic and soup for
that is true.
100
That
days?
does sound a little bit like gaslighting when you put it that way.
Yeah, that's a weird. Okay, look, I'm gonna get deported for saying
Are
this,
we
but
canceling?
This is cancel culture. Cancel the Australian dude on Korean history. Sure.
But yeah, so this myth is based off of a real person. So the rule of Emperor Tangun is the actual period was generally calculated to be somewhere in like 2000 BC-ish. In terms of like early Korean civilizations on the Korean peninsula.
Okay.
And garlic was kind of myth that kind of is one of the key ingredients in the myth that surrounds him, and in terms of the birth of this country.
Well, garlic is part of the. If you look at the taegukgi, maybe the bulb in the middle kind of looks like a garlic if you're looking from above.
There you go. Yeah, it does have it does have those same graceful curves to it.
Yeah, it has those same curves. So let's go back to our question then today. So where is Transylvania? I'm curious about the answer. What is the answer to that question?
Well, let's get a drum roll, please.
Let's go.
Romania.
Romania!
Rhymes with Transylvania. That's how you'll never forget now.
There we go. If anyone asks you where is Transylvania and where is the garlic fending off vampires, it is Romania.
There you go.
Modern day Romania, of course. And this is all complete reality. Well, Matthew, thank you for coming in and teaching us about vampires, garlic, how Korea was born from garlic. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's going to be our last time together. No.
No, never say never. Our paths will cross again one day.
Absolutely. So, guys, tune in again to 한국어천재 tomorrow. Otherwise, Matthew's going to be back next week. Panita. We're going to go to a song to finish off the show. 비 오는 날 듣기 좋은 노래. 윤하.
비가